everyone, and welcome to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and this is the review of Magazine Dreams, the Jonathan Majors film that was heavily delayed due to some outside interference, if you will, with all of the accusations and courtroom battles that happened in Jonathan Majors' personal life. But the film finally was released on in March, and I'm finally getting around to seeing it. And this was a film I was super excited for when they first announced this. I think in 2023, if I'm not mistaken. It was sought it out to be an Oscar contender that year, and then the bottom fell out, and it was snatched from its release date, and uh, couldn't find a distributor, and all this other good stuff, and it finally was released in March of 2025. And Magazine Dreams is about an amateur bodybuilder who battles both the limits of his physical body and his inner demons to gain recognition in the bodybuilding world. This film is directed by Elijah Bynum, and starring alongside Jonathan Majors, you have Haley Bennett, Taylor Page, Harrison Page, in the film that I would categorize as deeply disturbing. This is a disturbing film, and not in the sense of it was ultra violent and ultra sexualized and this, that, and the third. But this is a study of this character played by Jonathan Majors as he descends into madness. He goes into this dark place to achieve his dream of being a bodybuilder, being featured on the cover of muscle magazines and whatnot. And it's it's sad. It's a heartbreaking movie. I really, as I was watching this film, all I can think about throughout the entire 2 hour runtime was how sad that Jonathan Majors derailed his career. You know, and I'm not here to judge. I'm not here to dissect what took place with him and his ex girlfriend and whatnot. But it's sad because this dude is phenomenal. I mean, in this film, Jonathan Majors went to places that I didn't think he could go. I've always been impressed from the Five Bloods to King the Conqueror to Creed 3. I mean, the dude is phenomenal. Lovecraft Country, forgot about that. But he's just an amazing actor. Big, huge, gigantic fan of his work. And this was probably his Oscar. This was going to be an Academy Award winning performance if things had went according to plan, but unfortunately it didn't. Jonathan Majors delivers probably one of the greatest performances of his career thus far. Uh, this character, he was already an introvert as it was, and then you add on top of the fact that he had he had some mental problems, and then you add the little tidbit of his childhood trauma that he witnessed what happened to his parents when he was younger, and then on top of that, the cherry on top of the sundae, he's taking steroids to get this godlike physique. So it's like the dude didn't have a chance. In the the mere fact that he wasn't a pure psycho, he was psychotic in a lot of ways, but he wasn't a pure psycho. He was more creepy, and in some instances, that's worse because he just comes off as creepy. And this movie does an awesome job of showing that, that he's not doing these things on purpose. He's not being awkward and you know weird on purpose. He's this is just who he is, and people are uncomfortable about it. It was a scene in here where he's in the grocery store and he's standing next to this white woman, and she, the typical white woman around black people. In case you're white, you, well, because you do it. You're shift your purse over to the other side, because you're next to this big burly black fella who looks intimidating, and it happens, and he notices it, and he knows why the woman did it, and he just apologizes, just random. No, they didn't say any words. There was no words spoken between the two up to that point, and he just said, "I'm sorry." And the woman just looks at him and goes about her business, and I'm like, man, I felt that because, I'd have been in an elevator. I've been walking down the street or something like that in the store, and people act like, you know, I'm about to just wrestle them down and do whatever. It's like, if you look at me in person, it's like, really? Really? What I'm gonna do? Well, I'm more intimidated by you than you are than you are about me. But that's besides the point. They did a good job of that. But outside of that, just his interaction with people, he's awkward. He doesn't know how. He's just socially awkward. He does not know how to communicate with other people. He doesn't know how to act around other people. Because he kind of lived this sheltered existence, because of the trauma and the mental health issue and his singular focus of the goal that he has in mind for himself. He doesn't know how to interact. And so this film, I mean, perfectly displays that. I am just amazed by the direction by Elijah by him. I'm pretty sure I butchered his name, but I thought he did an excellent job here. Uh, the supporting cast is just that, a supporting cast. Most of the actors are in for one or two scenes, and that's it. You don't see them no more. This movie is a Jonathan Majors film. He's in every single scene of this movie. Every single scene has the character of Killian Maddox. And that's it. And everybody else is just there. The people he interact with. He's, the young lady that he tries to take out on a date, and he's so awkward. He blows it. He messes it up, and so on and so forth. The man, he tries to get I'm about to say a stripper, but prostitute. He gets a prostitute, and he messed that up. He can't even he can't even get the prostitute because he's so bad. He's so bad with interacting with people. I felt bad for him. But what this movie reminded me of was Joker. This was like the origin story of a villain. How you see the progression of this man deteriorating inside and out. And you're like, bro, when is the ball gonna drop? You feel it about to drop at any moment throughout this film. It was just pure tension. You know, every little interaction, every little hurdle that comes his way. His short temper, his mental health, everything. He was on a short fuse at every moment, and at the same time, it was still a sympathetic figure. You still felt bad for this guy, because he really truly wasn't a bad guy. Yeah, he did rage out at times, because of the steroid use and whatnot. But, he didn't hurt nobody. He hurt himself more than he hurt other people. But the struggle to try to contain this rage that was inside of him was a heartbreaking thing to watch. Uh, I can see, just to pivot a little bit, I can see what took place behind the scenes here. If the timelines match up. And I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying, I'm just doing a little observation, my theory, if you will. the incident that took place between him and his ex partner, and where he just flipped out and whatever, hit the woman. I forgot how the case went, but whatever the case is, uh, I can see what happened here. He was so it you he was this character. He really dove headfirst into this, and it wouldn't shock me if he went full on, method actor and really took steroids or whatever. And if that's the case, it's, he probably was on a roid rage or something like that. I don't know. Like I said, I'm just making assumptions. I don't mean to spread rumors or nothing like that. But that's what popped in my mind. I was like, well, his character was so unhinged. Maybe he took that home one night. Maybe that's what took place. But you do hear reports that Jonathan Majors was, not a wallflower, if you will, for the majority of his life. But I don't know. Never met the man. All I can speak to is his acting, and he's an amazing actor. This film was surprisingly better than what I thought it was going to be. I thought this movie was going to be boring. I really watched it for the performance of Jonathan Majors, but the movie in a whole was really great. Had this movie came out when it was supposed to last year, I believe it was supposed to come out, Nora wouldn't have won Best Picture. This probably would have won Best Picture. I can honestly see if it at the very least it get nominated. It was that good of a movie. It's truly a good movie. It's really no real flaws. There are some leaps in logic that took place in the film that I gotta knock it for, where I'm like, okay, so there's no repercussions to what happened here. There's no consequences to this situation that happened here. There are those moments that happen, and it's like two or three moments that happened that were kind of significant. That was kind of serious, and we didn't get a real resolution to those situations that took place. But besides that, if I'm just judging it by its acting, its direction, its writing, um, this was an awesome movie, and I truly, truly feel that Jonathan Majors messed up, man. He really messed up because this is a tour de force type performance. I wish things would have turned out better. Magazine Dreams gets a letter grade of an A minus. It is an excellent film. Excellent film. Heartbreaking, tragic, full of tension for a drama. This isn't an action movie, you know what I'm saying? This ain't a horror movie. This is not a thriller, but it has those tense moments throughout because this character is so on edge throughout the entire film, and you don't know where he's gonna go, but it keeps you on your toes and it keeps you interested for the entire 2 hour run because other than that, it would have been a long, slow burn, dried out, boring film. But it really wasn't. I truly enjoyed Magazine Dreams. I would love to know, did you check out Magazine Dreams? And going by his box office numbers, you didn't. But if you get the chance, I would love to hear your thoughts. Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also search for the show on all social media platforms. Just search for the KB Radio Network. Also, don't forget about YouTube. Subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel and like this video if you don't mind. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this review of Magazine Dreams. I hope Jonathan Majors is able to bounce back and actually recover and get back on track with his career because he was heading to the moon. He was heading to the moon. But this performance really makes me really makes me feel that way. Otherwise, I'd be like, well, it is what it is, you know. But he is that great of an actor. Hopefully, he'll get it right. Want you all to know that I love you. Continue to love everyone, and until we speak again, you all be blessed.